Hi everybody, Mike from the Rural Montana family here. In this video, we're going to talk about these, the things we call chargers, even though they're not. So first, I would like to ask all of you to help us grow this channel and give us a thumbs up right now. This gets the YouTube algorithm going and hopefully shows the video to more people and we can grow the channel. Also, click subscribe if you haven't done so yet. And if you feel like doing even more for us, share this video with your family, with your friends, and even better, at the end of the video, leave a comment down below. We really like positive comments, by the way. So thank you for your support, and now we got to talk about these things here. So we always talk about EV chargers when we look at these things here, but they're really not chargers. They're a connector that help us connect the grid to our car. That's all they are. This thing here may look familiar to you. This is a battery charger for a regular 12-volt battery. And what this does, we have our two clamps that go onto the battery, and we have our plug that plugs into a 120-volt outlet. And this side here is 120 volts AC. On this side we got 12 volts DC coming out. So that is a battery charger. It takes AC, makes it into DC to charge a battery. So this is an actual battery charger. All these things here, they're not. These are connectors basically. So this here is a Tesla high-powered wall connector. That's what they call it. We have some other versions here. This one here, this came actually with the Chevy Bolt. It's got its regular 110-volt plug. This here is a similar type, but it's got a different plug on it. It's got a NEMA 1450. This particular one here is a Tesla setup that came with the Tesla. So there's all kinds of different setups here. But they're not chargers, they're connectors, or what's officially called an EVSE, Electric Vehicle Supply Equipment. That's all it is. It only supplies power to your car, like to the Tesla on the charge port there, to the Chevy Bolt, to the charge port in the front. They all have a common plug in the United States. It's this particular plug right here. This is a J1772. This is a standard plug, and every EV in North America has this standard plug for level 2 charging and level 1 charging, as well as on the CCS, which is a combined between the level 2 as well as a DC fast charging port. So let's look at these a little closer. What is the difference between a level 1 and a level 2? A level 1 is pretty basic. This here is a level 1 charger. It has a regular 120 volt plug on it, so you can plug it into your regular household outlet. And then it will charge really slow. Same thing here with the Tesla. The Tesla has these adapters, and the Tesla comes with the regular 120 volt adapter that you then put on here. So we can just plug this in there, and then this here is a level 1 charger. Level 1 means basically 120 volts input. That goes a maximum of 12 amps because the outlet is rated at 15 amps in this case. That's a standard, and we got to be about 20% below that. So these level 1s, they charge at a max of 12 amps and it goes super slow. Then we have the level 2s. The level 2s look the same. Again, we got our same J1772 plug on there, okay? And the difference is here is the input plug. This is a much larger plug. In this case, this is the NEMA 1450, which is a very common plug. It's also known as a 50 amp RV plug. And I really like this one. This has many advantages to all the other plugs. So level 2, anyway, level 2 gives the option of charging faster by actually using 240 volts rather than 120 volts. So we got double the voltage, so we can run much more power. That said, it depends on this plug again. It depends on where you plug in. There's different types of these plugs. There's the Tesla that is capable of plugging in here and making this into a level 2 charger with the NEMA 1450. And then here we got another one. This is a 650, and it's another relatively common plug. A lot of people use it for welders. Can be used for dryers. There's a whole bunch of different plugs out there. But again, this one provides 240 volts, so we can get the most power. This being a 650, we can go up to 50 amps, or actually we got to go up to 40 amps, because again, we got to be about 20% below the maximum capacity of it. So we can do 40 amps on this. And so any one of these two, along with this here, will provide the maximum charge to the Tesla Model 3 behind me, which is 40 amps. On the Chevy Bolt, that doesn't go as high. It charges a little bit slower on level 2. It's only capable of doing 32 amps. That's where this here comes in handy. This setup right here. This here is a portable EVSE. It's got, I don't know, about 20 feet of cord on here. It's rated for outdoors, and it's water resistant, so if it rains on it a little bit, it's not bad. Just don't submerge it into water. But this provides 32 amps of charge, which maxes out the capacity of this bolt. The bolt cannot charge any higher than 32. And we actually use this particular one right here at home. We have a 1450 plug right here where we plug it into, and we charge the bolt with that every day. So this is our daily go-to for a bolt. So this is the difference between level 1 and level 2. Level 1 is basically 120 volts AC. Level 2 is 240 volts AC input to your EVSE. There is no such thing as level 3. People talk about level 3 and refer to DC fast charging. That would be your CCS on like the Chevy Bolt, or on most cars that has become the standard. Japanese cars still use the CHAdeMO plug, which is also a DC fast charger. Tesla has its own proprietary Tesla plug that looks different than anything, and it does both AC level 1, level 2 plus DC fast charging. So there's no level 3, okay? This is an SAE, Society of Automotive Engineers standard for the United States here, or for North America, that we use. Level 1, 120, level 2, 240, and then it's DC fast charging. No level 3, does not exist, okay? People talk about it, but it does not exist. Also, there's another app out that uses levels of charging, and the levels that this app is using to get you to a charger has nothing to do with the SAE levels that are a standard. So that is just their own thing in the app. So now, which one works the best? Well, it depends on your situation. Depends on where you're at. It depends on what car you have. Like I said, the Tesla behind me can charge at 40 amps. The Chevy Bolt can only charge at 32 amps. The Chevy Bolt comes with this level 1 here, and it's a little tricky. It has 120 volts on the sticker, but you could actually feed this 240 volts and it will work, and you pretty much get double the charge. And so this can also be a level 2 charger in this case. Don't know why Chevy didn't put a decal on it that actually states that it can be used like that, but I have done it by making my own adapter here really cheap. This is just an old extension cord. I cut the end off, a little piece of cord, and this is basically a NEMA 1450. I just removed this one pin here because then it also fits into another outlet. So now it can fit into a NEMA 1450, but it can also fit another outlet at this point. That allows me to get 240 volts and higher charge like this. So I can plug this into, I made this actually for a friend's house, that I could plug into his dryer outlet, get the 240 volts, plug this in here, and charge faster on the Bolt. But luckily, we didn't need that. Actually, we were able to plug in with a different adapter that goes from this particular one to this, and use this level 2 charger here at 32 amps and go full blast. So you can make adapters for them if you know what you're doing, if you're familiar with these things. You can make adapters for these EVSEs. With Tesla, you can buy adapters, okay? So your EVSE just has this hole right here, that's all there is, and you plug in an adapter, and according to which adapter you plug in, this here will know which adapter it is, and then it knows how fast it can charge from there, how many amps it is allowed to pull. So this is a really cool thing actually, and this charger currently is like 250 or 275 bucks on Tesla's website. This is the best deal you can find. These here are more money. Anything that goes higher, you know, you can find some level 1 chargers relatively cheap. But if you want to have a level 2 that can do 32 amps for like the Chevy Bolt here, these things are 300 bucks. So this is actually a great deal. Unfortunately, it has the Tesla proprietary plug on it, and you would have to buy an additional adapter that adapts it to the J1772, so you can use it for other EVs. And these adapters still run about 150 bucks right now, so then you're more expensive too. But it would be a great option if all these would actually function like that. Would be really cool, but unfortunately they don't. So there's all these different variations and things, but what is best for you is the question here. Well, first of all, it needs to be something you can afford. So a lot of people say, well, I'm gonna stick with my level 1 that we got. Same thing here, people just stick with this and plug this into an outlet. This works, it works super slow. If you don't drive very far every day, this works pretty good. If you live in a cold climate like we do, it's not going to work for you in the wintertime, because whenever the battery heater comes on either one of those, the battery heater takes more power than either one of those can supply. So you're actually discharging your battery. So with temperatures we have here, when we have 20 below in the wintertime up here, the battery heater runs way more than it can charge, so you're actually discharging the battery. So that doesn't help at all. So you can't really live with a level 1 in a cold climate. If you're further south and your temperatures stay above 50 degrees most of the year, this can work pretty good. There's one thing, these lithium batteries, they don't like super fast charging, but the super slow is not really good either. We want to be right in the middle, and that's where our level 2 chargers here come in, like this. And so it's best to have a level 2 charger, I think, if you can. So if you live in an apartment building, I have a friend of mine, he has a 2017 Bolt EV. He lives in an apartment building. All he can do is run an extension cord from an outside outlet on the building to his car that's parked on the street and use his level 1 charger. That's all he's got. And with all the heating he does, obviously for driving to work, he has a very short drive, so he doesn't drive very far, but yeah, it keeps more or less discharging the battery. Also, sometimes in the wintertime, if there's lots of snow, he doesn't feel comfortable to run the cord out there because somebody may come through with the plow and catch his cord and destroy everything. So there are issues like that, but he managed to get through the winter. And so there are possibly options where you could charge at work. There's possibly an option where you have a charger nearby, like one of these here. This here is an older charge point. That's a possibility. Sometimes you find those at grocery stores, coffee shops, and so on. And commonly in those places, they're free to use. So that's another option. So if you're in a situation like that, you probably need a portable charger. So you can, like this one here, you could use this one or this one here. There's also other variations of these out there that you can buy with adapter plugs. So you can buy a portable charger with adapter plugs, and then you can plug in different places wherever you get a chance. So this is probably the most difficult situation like that. If you own a house, it's obviously the easiest because you can do whatever you want to. So like us, we installed the NEMA 1450, which comes in handy to charge the Bolt with this one, as well as we can plug in welders, plasma cutters. If Grandpa stops by with the RV, we can plug his RV in there. So we got all this. And we also have 2 of those, the Tesla high-powered wall connectors. So we can plug in 2 Teslas as well. So that makes it super easy. If you own a home, I suggest to invest into installing probably a NEMA 1450, because that outlet gives you the most options of all with this plug right here. This plug is 50 amps, so that's pretty much as high as you need for any EV charging. There's really not much out there. There's some older Teslas that were able to go way higher than this, and they required a hardwired high-powered wall charger. But with 50 amps, you're doing pretty good. You can get charged up overnight for sure. And it gives you, like I said, all the other options that we have here. So an NEMA 1450 is great. If you already have a different outlet, like a dryer outlet or something similar like this here in your garage, possibly you can plug in there. They make devices, so like if you have an actual dryer plugged in, you can plug in the special device, plug your dryer in here, plug your car charger in there, and then run one or the other. So there are things out there, but if you're a homeowner, I strongly suggest that you have either a high-powered wall connector kind of deal like this. There's others for other brands that can be permanently installed. There's not just Tesla. You can buy a whole bunch of others and have one either permanently installed or have a NEMA 1450 and then use something like this here as a portable. Since this has dual purpose, this comes in really handy that you can take it with you on a trip. For us here in Montana, where we have very few chargers, we commonly take both of these with us in the Chevy Bolt. And we have this one here with us with the adapters so that we can charge the Tesla as well. We also, if we know where we're going kinda, or if we don't know where we're going, we bring a 50 amp RV extension cord. Again, this has the NEMA 1450 on it, and that extension cord is 25 feet long and allows us to plug into an outlet, then plug this into our extension cord so we can reach the car, which is very helpful. So these are options, okay? Like I said, if you're a homeowner, NEMA 1450, or buy a permanent installed one. Could be a Clipper Creek, could be an Electrify America, could be a Charge Point. There are all these different ones. These portable EVSEs here are usually very simple. This one here has a display. There's a display right here, so it gives you a little information. Most of them don't even have that. Like this, it just has, oops, this here just has the two lights. So they're very simple, portable. The permanent installed ones, they offer more functions. And since people like this outlet, just like I do, a lot of these permanent ones now come just like this one here with a pigtail on it that has the NEMA 1450. So you can actually take one of those permanent installed ones and make it semi-permanent. You install it on the wall, but you're actually plugging it into a NEMA 1450 outlet. And obviously, since they're more permanent, they're not really designed necessarily to be thrown in your car and go somewhere and plug in on the campground and all this stuff. Okay, they're not necessarily as rugged as some of these here. These are basically just boxes, so it's no big deal. While some of the permanent, more permanent installed ones, they're not as rugged. They're really designed to basically hang in one place, but you can plug it in and you can unplug it if you want to and plug something else in. So that's the advantage of having NEMA 1450. You can unplug your car charger, plug something else in and use it there. The advantage with the bigger things like these is nowadays most of those have an app and you can access them from inside the house, from wherever you are. You can make sure your car is plugged in, you can turn it on, you can turn it off, you can program a timer, all kinds of functions. It depends a little bit on whose charger it is. I believe ChargePoint now comes out with a new one. They already had one with the app on it. Electrify America has a couple of them out that function with the Electrify America app. ChargePoint obviously works with the ChargePoint apps. So this gives you options. They come at a premium though, those options. Again, this actually I thought was a good deal at $500. If I looked everywhere online a couple years ago, everything was $600, $650, $700, $1,000. Outrageous prices. So it really depends on what you want. This one here runs $300. It works wonderful. It's not a permanent install. We hang it with one screw on the back. Here's a little key slot there, a keyhole, and so there's one screw here on the post where we can hang that so it doesn't just lay on the ground, and it's almost like permanent installed. It doesn't have any features. But do you need the features? So that's the other question. If you have one installed at your house, do you need the features? I mean, could you walk out real quick and see if you really plug the car in? Do you really need an app to see that in your house? And if you're away and it's not plugged in, you can't do anything anyway. And if you look and see, oh, it's not plugged in and you're away, and then you call home and tell somebody to go out there to plug it in, cool, that works. But you could also just call home and say, hey, go out there and check if my car's plugged in, and if not, plug it in, please. And you save probably a couple $100, okay? So it kind of depends on what features you like, what features you need. Other features are, you know, depending on your electric company, your power may be cheaper at night. And so you don't want to charge right away when you come home. You may come home at 6 p.m., you plug it in, but you don't want to charge. You don't want to charge till 10 p.m. when the power gets cheaper. So you want to charge from like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So the more fancy chargers will allow you to do that. But both of these cars allow you to do that too. It's included in the car. So you don't necessarily need the fancy chargers. If you can afford it, hey, and if you like it, sure, go ahead. But otherwise, I don't really see a reason to have these super fancy ones. Like I said, the Teslas were relatively cheap, especially at the time. They were $150 to $200 cheaper than any other permanent installed, and we wanted to go for permanent installed at that point because we knew we would stick with electric cars anyway. And eventually, at some point, this will become an asset in your house. If you actually sell your house and you already have an EV connector and charger that's permanent installed, if you have an NEMA 1450, this will eventually possibly give you a little more money, make it easier to sell the house, because that is the future and it's coming. There's other people that decide to install just a 30 amp outlet of kinds. Go for the 50, go for full blast, because right now, yes, like this bolt, it charges at 32 amps. If you put a 30 amp in there, you can charge at 24 amps max, so you cannot even charge your bolt as fast as it actually could, but it would do for what your needs are right now. But maybe you sell the bolt and you buy a Polestar. Whoops, now you're way below what the Polestar could do. So that's why I personally prefer that 50 amp outlet. Gives you the most options. It's also, in the future, is still a viable outlet. So then we have the option, you may rent the house. There it becomes a little bit more difficult. If you rent the house, obviously, well, you have to see with the owner of the house. Maybe the owner is actually willing to install one of those outlets for you, because it will be interesting for that owner again in the future as these EVs become more popular. If you move out of that place, somebody else that moves in will say, well, you don't have an outlet to plug in my EV charger, so I don't know, I don't want to pay you that much, or you need to install it now, or something. So it may actually create more difficulties for the owner of the house later down the road. So you may want to talk to the owner and see if they will be willing to install an NEMA 1450, and then you can purchase something like this, or you can purchase something like that that has the pigtail on it. Like I said, they're all available nowadays basically with the pigtail, with an NEMA 1450 and a couple other outlets. So it has become a lot easier than it was. Installation of these outlets, that varies. I mean, that can be a couple $100, can be a couple $1,000. It depends on where your breaker box is, where your garage is, or your carport, or where you're parking the car. So can't really say. The new Bolt, or maybe only the Bolt EUV for next year, will come with a charger. There's a certain amount of money when you purchase the car. A certain amount of that money is allotted for installing a charger at your place. So that can come in really handy if you don't have a charger yet, and you buy one of those and they come out, they do a basic install. You already paid for it with the car. If it goes beyond the basic install, you may have to pay a little more on top of that. So which one is the best? Like we just went through, it really depends on your situation and what you can do, what can you afford. They're all about the same. If you look at especially these portable EVSEs, if you look online, they all look very similar. They're all very similar in price. The specs are very similar. Well, this one here, there is no brand name anywhere on here. Pretty simple. A lot of these are made in China. And somebody calls up, says, hey, I want 300 of those, but it needs to look different than this guy, so can you put a different sticker on? Can you put different housing on or something? So you got to figure that out, what you want to pay and how comfortable you are with buying something like that. Or if you possibly want to go to, like in this case, to Tesla, buy it from Tesla. Obviously, there's other manufacturers that provide EV charging equipment with the car, or you can purchase it from them. So many different options. So then, yeah, while you're traveling, obviously you're going to use some of those here. This is a level 2 charger, an older charge point. Like I said, many of those are free, still available, coffee shops, grocery stores, and so on. And then obviously DC fast chargers. So you can find DC fast chargers in more and more places, depending on where you live. There's different apps that help you find the DC fast chargers. And if you live in an area that doesn't have one, but you need one, then put a request in. Put a request in to Electrify America, okay? Go on their Facebook page, go on their Twitter, go on their website, and put a request in. Tell them, hey, I live here, but I can't go there because I need a DC fast charger and there isn't one. So if you would place a DC fast charger in such and such town, this would be great. Put your request in, okay? So this way we can get the chargers where we need them, not where they think we need them. Yeah, so anyway, there's all these options depending on your car, depending on your situation. If you own a home, rent a home, if you live in an apartment building, if you have a garage there or not. You may have to work that a little bit. Like I said, it's obviously the easiest if you own your home, because then you can do whatever you want to. It's still going to cost money to install all this. But like I said, I prefer to be able to max out the car, which means in this case here, the Bolt is 32 amps. I can put full charge to it with this here. In this case here, with the Tesla, it's 40 amps. And we have this right here. So if I'm in a pinch and I come home, I can get a little charge in there relatively quick because I have max power available, and I can get going again. If I just have the level 1, well, there's not even any sense in plugging in if you gotta leave again in an hour, because you really can't get anything in there. So then you have to find another charger somewhere else. So yeah, this is about it to all these chargers here. So remember, level 1 is 120 volts, level 2 is 240 volts, and there is no level 3. That is called DC fast charging, which is a whole different animal, because then we actually have a charger sitting there that charges the battery directly. While with these here, these are not chargers. They just provide power to the car. The charger is in the car, it's built in, and so whole different animal. There's also some of these here that you can buy that are actually adjustable. They're coming up now, a little more maybe. So you can choose your amperage on it, so that if you use an adapter, something like this or whatever, you can use this same unit to charge of many different outlets, basically similar to this. You still need adapters. Some come with adapters, but you can adjust. You can adjust to all the different situations. They're coming down in price. They're not that bad anymore either. But yeah, overall, that's it. Get the high-powered one that you can for your situation. If you the more power you have available, the easier it will be in a pinch. Also, in the wintertime, in a cold climate, with this here, the bolt can actually turn on the battery heater, or we can preheat the cabin, and we're not draining the battery. So that is an important fact. So if you live in a cold climate, you definitely want to have high power. The level ones just don't cut it. It's possible to deal with, but you may be discharging your battery more than charging, because heat uses an extreme amount of power. And as you got to heat a battery pack and the cabin, you may lose charge rather than gain if you just have a level 1. All right, yep. So that is it. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Share the video with others that may be interested in this. And if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.